Imagine this. A conspiracy that could shake the medical world. Can organs really dictate life and death? Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Allie.
And I'm Brianne. We are caffeinated, barely civilized, and already arguing about toast. So buckle up.
Okay, but in my defense, butter first, then jam. Not jam, then butter. That's chaos. Anyway, welcome to The Veil, Unsolved and Unbelievable. I'm like buzzing for today's topic. All right, moving on. Today we're talking about what some people call the organ ledger conspiracy, tied to the case of Noelia Castillo Ramos in Spain.
Conspiracy alert. The name alone sounds like someone's spreadsheet got feelings. I already have questions.
Here's the deal. I'm going to set the stage. Because the facts matter even if the theory is spicy. Noelia Castillo Ramos was born in 2000. In October 2022, after what she described as severe personal trauma, she attempted suicide by jumping from a building. She survived, but with irreversible paraplegia, chronic pain, neurological damage, and intense psychological suffering. She also had documented diagnoses of OCD and borderline personality disorder, which became a big legal argument.
Right, that distinction is huge. The legal ground was chronic, unbearable, irreversible pain from the 2022 injury. Not depression, not a vague mood. Physical suffering that met Spain's law.
She formally requested euthanasia in 2024, and then her case turned into this national flashpoint. Her father, backed by a Christian lawyers group, filed appeal after appeal. Meanwhile, politicians were taking sides, and high-ranking Catholic officials condemned the whole thing. It was like everywhere. Legally, every reviewing body upheld her right. The High Court of Justice of Catalonia, then Spain's Supreme Court in January 2026, then the Constitutional Court shortly after, and finally the European Court of Human Rights, the ECHR, in March 2026. All of them said no to stopping it. Despite approvals, the procedure was delayed a total of 601 days by the legal fight. That's almost 2 years. And then, in March 2026, at 25 years old, she had euthanasia at a healthcare center in Sant Pere de Ribes. The method was intravenous medication, deep sedation followed by respiratory arrest, designed to prevent pain.
And she chose to be alone at the end, even though her mum wanted to be there. That's heartbreaking, and also a stark statement about autonomy.
In her last interview on Antenna 3, the day before, she said this was her decision, and she didn't want others to take her case as a model. That hit me. Seriously, though. Okay, next up. The organ ledger theory. I'm not claiming this is proven. Some people out there believe it, and we're going to pick it apart. The gist goes like this. They say her euthanasia was strategically shepherded to line up with organ donation interests, that there was a hidden financial pipeline humming behind the scenes, that once the last appeal fell in Strasbourg, everything clicked forward like clockwork to protect a supply chain.
I call BS on hidden pipelines, but go on. Let's see the evidence they think they have.
Here's what went down. The father's lawyers publicly claimed two big things during the fight. One, that her organs were basically committed, so the euthanasia couldn't be suspended, and two, that doctors had financial interests in donation. Those claims spread like wildfire. People DM'd us screenshots of briefs, circled lines, little red arrows like an internet detective board. Conspiracy folks point to the 601-day delay and say, look, that was the setup phase. And then the snap timing after the ECHR denial was the window for procurement logistics. They latch onto the euthanasia method too, arguing that deep sedation and controlled respiratory arrest are perfect for fast post-mortem coordination. It sounds tidy. Almost too tidy.
Wait. Deep sedation is standard because you minimize suffering. It's not some secret donor switch. Also, 601 days looks like bureaucracy moving at the speed of molasses, not a heist.
Back to the story. The theory also folds in the political noise. They say, every major court said yes, from Catalonia to the Supreme Court to the Constitutional Court to Strasbourg. Conspiracy brains read that as institutional alignment, like a wall. Add in angry church statements, and they claim there had to be powerful counterforces making sure the outcome stayed on track. And I get why it catches fire. The atmosphere was electric. Misinformation was already swirling, like false claims about who assaulted her, or that euthanasia was granted for depression. Once people see one falsehood, they start pattern matching everywhere. Isn't that bananas?
The problem is, pattern matching doesn't equal proof. It equals, well, vibes. Sorry, not sorry.
Okay, so check this out. Let's walk through the debunk because the receipts matter. First, those organ commitment and financial interest claims from the father's lawyers. They're legally false. Fact checkers said it. Legal analysts said it. There's zero evidence in the rulings of any organ donation linkage here, and the law is not built to let doctors profit from organs. Like, at all.
Exactly. Spain's rulings focused on two pillars. Her capacity was intact, and her suffering was chronic and irreversible from the 2022 injury. Full stop. Multiple independent courts agreed. That's not a cartel, that's a consensus. And remember, misreporting about depression got corrected. The legal basis was physical pain and paralysis, not a mood diagnosis. Also, the broader rumour ecosystem was a mess. There were false claims tying her alleged assaults to unaccompanied child migrants and to her time in care. Fact-checkers pulled the timeline apart. She was 21 at the time of the attempt and had left care years earlier. She described nightclub assaults that were never reported. Unverified, not adjudicated. That whole narrative was political fuel, not evidence.
And her own words matter. In that last interview, she said this was personal, not a call for others to do the same. That cuts against the idea of some external machine pushing her. She was consistent about her choice.
Let's put a pin in the conspiracy and look at the ethics that are real. She was 25, one of the youngest euthanasia recipients in Spain. The third youngest among more than 1,000 cases. That's emotionally heavy, and it can cloud judgment. But the entire point of the law is autonomy. Courts assessed capacity. They upheld it. Even with OCD and BPD diagnoses, because those do not automatically erase decision-making ability.
Still, I get why the organ ledger whispers stick. Long delay, then those rapid-fire final denials. A medically choreographed end. Stormy politics. It reads like a thriller if you squint. But when you lay the documents down, what's there is, like, a patient cleared by law, dragged through 601 days of appeals, who finally got the outcome the law provided.
Right. The simplest explanation is also the saddest one. Legal attrition prolonged her suffering, not some secret ledger. And when the last court said no to the father's appeal, it allowed what had already been approved to happen. Bureaucracy, not Bond villainy.
The emotional core is the family. Her dad fought hard and lost. Her mom wanted to be there and couldn't be. And Noelia's choice to die alone says painfully, I'm steering this, even at the very end. Autonomy versus love can feel like a tear you can't stitch.
The point is, these cases become symbols. Politicians argue, church leaders condemn, conspiracies swirl. But if you strip it back, the law is there to decide one thing. Can this person, suffering irreversibly, autonomously choose? In her case, every level said yes.
So here's the unanswered question we're left with. How do we balance a person's right to end unbearable suffering with the instinct, family, society, faith, to protect life at all costs? Where does the final say live, and how do we carry the weight of that answer?
If you want to go deeper on the ethics, watch Terry Pratchett, Choosing to Die. It's not Spain, but it wrestles with autonomy and end-of-life choices in a way that sticks with you.
On a lighter note, okay, next up for us is snacks. I'm queuing a spooky doc after because of course I am.
I'm doing tea and a blanket and not thinking about legal appeals for at least one evening. Famous last words.
Thanks for listening, friends. Stay curious, stay kind, and, question everything.
We'll see you next time on The Veil. Unsolved and Unbelievable.